All right. Well, hello and welcome everyone from our public libraries around the state. I'm Russell Palmer from Galileo, and I am thrilled to go ahead and get started here at the top of the hour, 2 o'clock, with our session today, Galileo eBook collections for public libraries. And very excited to have you with us. Just a few things logistically. I am recording this session, so you'll get a good recording of the session this afternoon, shortly after we wrap up. I should be sending that out. You'll get a YouTube link for the recording. In terms of other logistics, in terms of participation, just know that I have disabled camera and voice just because we had a lot of registrations and it's a lot to manage in terms of muting microphones and other things when you have a big group. So I have limited communication to just the chat and the Q&A. And just know that when I'm presenting, I may not see your questions in the chat and the Q&A immediately, but I will be checking those routinely during the session and making sure that I build in some long pauses for questions to give you all time to type in your questions. And you'll have plenty of time, as will I, to ask and have your questions adequately addressed. So just know that those are the two options. The Q&A option and the chat option can be turned on at the top of the screen just by clicking on the appropriate button there. So that's just a little bit about how we're handling things logistically. I want to welcome you all to our session, Galileo eBook Collections for Public Libraries. And again, I'm Russell Palmer. I'm the Assistant Director for Galileo Support Services. So my team and I, Mike White, Ken Hensley, keep things working behind the scenes here at Galileo. And I also do a lot of training and outreach on about Galileo around the state of Georgia. Always happy to come to your staff development day. I've come to many staff development days and always love doing that type of thing, especially this time of year. I know a lot of you have them in October and November. I want to stress my availability to come in either virtually or to visit your library anytime you would like to have some hands-on training, whether it be for ebooks or other things. So I just know that that's one thing I always like to stress in these sessions is that we're available to do this type of training and other types of training for you around the state. So going ahead and launching into our Galileo ebook collections and talking a little bit about that and offering an agenda here for you. So what I want to cover, we've really worked hard at Galileo, our developers and our team, to enhance the ability to search for things in Galileo. I always love the joke. I was told, I think third hand ages ago, that librarians love to search for things. Everyone else likes to find things, and we try to make it easier for our users to find things all the time. So we've added things like our bento search and other things. We've added an improved search interface for the EBSCO Discovery search. We've improved our database search. I want to cover the ways that you can actually get out at these ebooks and ebook collections, and also ways that you can share them with your users in your reference and other outreach work. We'll look at the different ebook platforms and the features of those ebook platforms. I will be the first to say that the ebook platforms that we use here at Galileo, primarily EBSCO and ProQuest, are not the most exciting in terms of features and functionality. In terms of what you see, many of you have Overdrive or other very robust ebook platforms that allow the sort of the artificiality of checkout and other things. We don't really have that option, but we do. The platforms are good. The access is good. The access is perpetual. All of the titles that we offer through our Galileo ebook collections, with a very few exceptions, are unlimited users, which is great. So there's some differences in the way our platforms work than the way some of the traditional public library facing platforms work. But I think there's a lot of really good content in these ebooks that makes it worth your while to learn more about them and learn what's there. I'll do a little bit of a breakdown of ebook access by age group, and we'll think through that a bit. So I know some of you may work in children's services and you're particularly interested in ebooks for kids. Some of you may work adult reference and you're very keen to know what types of reference titles may be there. We'll do a breakdown of the different types of ebooks that you see as we go along today, and how to kind of limit things also by age group, and some good positive changes that are coming with some of our ebook collections that I'll let you know about as well that will help with sorting things out by age group, especially as it applies to kids. We'll talk about viewing and reading Galileo ebooks. We'll talk about mobile access. We could do a whole other class on mobile access that I will be the first to admit that while the platforms that Galileo puts forth, we design mobile first in the Galileo environment, and a lot of our vendors do as well. It's not necessarily easy in terms of downloading ebooks to platforms, but we will talk about that, and I'll give you resources that you can use to explore downloading and using ebooks offline via Galileo. And we'll allow for plenty of discussion and Q&A time as we go forth. So I'm going to check back on as I mentioned, I have to kind of actively check the chat while I'm presenting. So I'm going to check the chat right now and just make sure we have Stacy saying any sound yet. Let me know. Have I been talking for 5 minutes and nobody's been hearing me? Are you all hearing me? Can you all let me know in the chat if you're hearing me? Okay, so sound, yeah, Stacy's okay, good. Whew. Sorry, y'all. That's the worst, most mortifying nightmare, isn't it? I gotcha. Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks all. Is that you come back to from talking for 5 minutes and you've been absolutely inaudible. So, thank you, Stacy, for asking, and thanks those of you for responding. So, yep, good. Seeing no questions then, other than Stacy's jarring jolt to my heart. Sorry, Stacy. We'll go ahead and move forward and talk about searching ebooks a little bit. But first, I will come back to the chat for this because I think this is kind of fun. I want to get a gauge from you. How many ebooks do you think we have? Do you think we have A, 8,000, B, 16,000, C, 300,000, or D, 600,000 ebooks available in Galileo? What do you think? How many ebooks do you think we have? You can answer A, B, C, or D in the chat. Thoughts? How many ebooks do you think we have? So we've got some D's and some C's, and we got just a straight up answer of Julia for 600,000 C. So the correct answer is D, 600,000. We have over 600,000 titles. Now there is some duplication of titles. There are some dupes that probably reduce that number by a bit, but it's right around 600,000 in terms of raw count for the number of electronic book titles that we have. Thanks, y'all. Our second Galileo ebook trivia question. Once I see an ebook in Galileo, I can rely on it being there forever and ever. It may disappear at the publisher's whim. It may disappear on a 2 times yearly schedule. Galileo has ebooks, or B and C. What do you think on that one? Yeah, seeing lots of correct answers on that. Absolutely. The answer is E, and I can explain that a little bit more and even can give you all, if you ever feel the need for it, we do have good documentation. We have a good FAQ on that in the Galileo FAQs about specifically how this happens. So just while we're on this topic, we have had ebooks disappear on a publisher's whim. They usually give us some notice as to when they're going to do that, but every now and then a publisher will decide to take ebooks offline from our aggregator platforms. The platforms we have, eBook Central and EBSCO as our primary platforms, are aggregators. That means that they work with publishers to add slates of ebook titles. And those publishers may decide that they want to take them off the platform for a variety of reasons, and contractually the aggregator can do that. We'll do that. But we also know that ebook titles rotate on and off on a 2 times yearly schedule. We're coming up on one of those times now. It's July, December, so sort of the calendar year end and the fiscal year end. We know that our ebook providers will be taking titles offline. So we generally get some notice of that, and we know what's coming offline. If you ever need that, you can actually get on a listserv from ProQuest that will give you that list, and I think EBSCO publishes that openly. But just wanted to make sure that you all are aware. Generally, if a title is there, it can be relied upon for some good period of time, but there are a couple times a year, and occasionally on a whim, times when publishers will take ebooks down. So let's launch into finding ebook databases and kind of really tracking down what we have available in terms of ebook collections and ebooks. I want to approach this from um, a search perspective first, because I think we've done so much with search. I really want to show you the power of what we've done. Making sure there are no questions in the Q&A or elsewhere before we move forward. We're good there. So let me go ahead and go back to my shared screen here. So here on our slide, I'm talking a little bit about finding ebooks, finding ebook databases. How do I know what databases are available to me? I have a list in this presentation, and everybody will get my presentation slides along with the recording, just to be clear about that. I have these on a Google Doc, and I'll be just sharing them over to you. But we have our bento search, which I find to be a very, very powerful tool. We also have our standalone database search that can be a very, very powerful tool in terms of finding what databases we have. Before you search, you kind of have to know where to search, and both the bento search and the all databases list can help with that. So let me show you around those two tools so that you get a little familiarity with what I mean. I'm currently logged in as Athens Clarke County Library. If you haven't had a chance to complete our Galileo survey, please do by November 17th. It is there. Once you're logged into Galileo, you can access it. So in the bento search, I'm curious, what ebooks do I have access to? I can just type in the word ebook and do a search. We have embedded the Galileo database search into our bento search. So there is a databases bento, and this will provide me a list with 22 different collections where I can get ebooks. So there are lots of places where you can go and get ebooks. So eBook Central is our main ProQuest platform that I will talk about today. But then EBSCO breaks things out a bit more. EBSCO breaks things out by collection. There's an ebook community college collection. There's a public library collection, a K through 8 collection, which we'll spend some time talking about. One I won't spend a lot of time on today, but I always like to mention is there are the Georgia History ebooks. This is from University of Georgia Press. It's a collection of electronic books related to Georgia history that the UGA Press has made available for free online, open access. We also are adding ebook open access collections. So as you can see, there are a wide range of different types of collections that everyone has access to. Of course, we list eRead Kids, so that's maintained by GBLS, and Galileo is not your primary access point for eRead Kids, but we have made sure to list it there so that if a user is thinking they might discover it in Galileo, they will. So that's using the bento search to find ebook collections, again, via the database search. I'm going to go back to the Galileo main page just to show you also the all databases list. I always encourage you to use this when you're, again, trying to figure out if you're looking for a database related to a specific subject or a specific material type. We can limit by types here in our database search. And you have to go to page 2, I believe, to get to ebook. But you can see all of the different material types. Again, books, ebooks, and book reviews by limit by that type. I'm going to get a similar list to what I had before, but it's also going to bring up things I'll spend a little bit of time on today, like Novelist, where we have book reviews and reader's advisory tools available to you as it relates to ebooks. So a similar search to what I saw before, but I always want to encourage you to use this. We've done a lot of improvements to it. We've still got metadata improvements and other improvements that we can make to make this search more powerful, but it is a powerful tool in finding the place where you need to start doing searches in Galileo. So that's just, again, finding the ebook databases. There's lots of ways you can go about that, but I think just being able to search in the ebook, in the database list or in the bento, which also searches the database list, can be a great way to search. And then there's the whole idea of finding ebooks at the title level. I'm going to finish this. I see I got a blinking light here, so I'm going to come back and make sure I'm addressing any questions, but I'm going to cover really quickly. If you've got a question that's pending, I'm going to go ahead and cover finding ebooks at the title level, and then I'll come back and do a little bit of time for Q&A. So we have lots of different ways to search in Galileo. We can find ebooks at the title level using the EBSCO Discovery Service. That's that main Galileo search. And I know we can get into confusing terminology sometimes when it comes to Galileo. There's this EBSCO Discovery Service and there's this bento thing. They search the same index, so they search the same material. The bento is just a filter that we've designed on the Galileo side to sort the content the way we want to sort it, which makes it easier for the end user to find what they're looking for. But you still can use the EBSCO Discovery search. The main search, the Galileo search, is there as well. And you can generally find ebooks at the title level there. And you can also limit to ebooks there as also. And then we also have an all journals option. You can, the all journals is a little bit confusing. We're actually working on renaming it. We're going to do a Galileo release, a small Galileo release at the in December in a month or so. And that's one of the things that we want to look at and change is changing that to something that's a little more meaningful. But we do have an all journals. It's actually all publications is what it searches. And when you go into all journals, it contains all publications in Galileo, including ebooks. So let me take a look at these with you all. I'm going to actually start with the all journals and kind of go a little bit backward here, just because I think that's one of the most confusing things that we do that we need to improve, or one of the confusing things we need to do and improve on. So if I click on all journals here, I can actually search for ebooks by title in this all journal search. I have a title search as my default. You see I can search by ISSN or ISBN number. So if I have an ISBN number, I can do a contains. Let me go ahead and make this a little smaller. There we go. But I can also browse by publication name. And note that I have this limiter here when I'm in the publication search, the publication finder. I can search for journals only, or I can search for books only. So if I choose to engage the books only search, do title contains brunch. Go ahead and search how to make anything gluten-free. There's my how to make anything gluten-free, over 100 recipes for everything from home comforts to takeaways to cakes. I can find that book in the EBSCO ebooks. So I've effectively found a book by title at the title level using that publication finder. So the publication finder, again, will let me search for individual ebook titles. That's certainly not the only way I can find individual ebook titles. Let me go back. I'm going to actually capture my brunch title here for fun. Bear with me. So we can find it. Let's see. Since we're talking about finding individual titles, I can't type today. Forgive me. How to make anything gluten-free. So if I have a known ebook title or a title I want to search for, I can certainly do a title search for it in the Galileo Bento or the Galileo EDS search. So I'm going to go ahead and search for this in the Bento search, and it should pull up for me. We'll see. Yeah, it's actually using a lot of keyword searching, but when it pulls up for me in the ebooks, there's that title. And why on earth it pulled in some of the same keywords and found also coconut oil recipes for real life. But there I have the ebook. We'll actually look at the ebook structure in a little bit. I'm just going to spend a little bit more time on searching first, but it's fairly easy to find an ebook by title using the Bento search, as I just did. Or I can go back to Galileo here and use the classic search, which is the classic EBSCO discovery search. Click search and find that ebook by title using the EBSCO discovery search. Slowly but surely. And there it is. So if you have a title, I mean, obviously not every title is available as an ebook through Galileo, but if you have a title or somebody says, well, I have this ebook title, I want to see if it's available, you can find ebooks at the title level using a variety of different Galileo tools. So we looked at the EBSCO discovery search, we looked at the Bento search, and we looked at the all journal search. That's me wrapping up finding ebooks at the title level. And this is me doing what I promised, which is coming back and taking a look at the chat and seeing what might be a buzz there in the chat or the Q&A. So I'm going to take a look at the chat. See any questions as yet, so that's great. And a look at the Q&A. Any questions there? No questions there. So I'm going to take just a quick 10, 15-second pause. If you have any questions at this point, don't hesitate to let me know. I'm happy to answer either again using the chat or the Q&A. Okay, cool. Well, thank you all so much. I'm going to go ahead and go back out to my presentation here. Go ahead and minimize everything. So let's go ahead and take a look next at, I have slides just in case anything fails. So the EBSCO Discovery Service in summary, Bento Search, and the Publication Finder are the tools that we use there. And just did you know, I'd like to spend time talking about what we're done and what we're going to do with our Bento search coming soon. I'm very excited about some of the improvements that we're going to be making to our Bento search environment. You can embed the Bento ebook search or a persistent link to a pre-created search in your library website in a variety of different ways. And what we're going to do is we're going to make it so it looks more like, give you the ability to make an embedded search. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So I'm going to go ahead and go back into Galileo here, where I'm still logged in. And right, so I'm going to go ahead and do a Bento search for sewing and dresses and see what ebook titles I come up with. That search has a little bit of inspiration with Jennifer Lotzenheiser at Middle Georgia Regional, who is a wonderful seamstress in her little own right, and I just love seeing all the things that she makes. So we had 31,500. That's still a pretty broad ebook. So 31,000 titles came up with that. So we have things like Sewing for Fashion Designers, which is accessible through eBook Central. So that's 31,000 titles. That's probably more than you ever wanted to share with the patron. But if you do a refined search and you're working with a patron virtually, or you want to quickly send the patron an email, a list of ebooks that they can go through later, what we've done with the Bento search is we've added a permalink option. So if I click on permalink here, I can capture one of two permalinks, or I can capture both of them if I want. If I want to capture a permalink for this exact search, I can. And if I click on copy, I'll just open another browser to prove a point. I can copy that URL into my browser window, or if I click on it from an email and I'm at home and I'm a patron, it's going to prompt me to log in. But I can go ahead now and access that list. So you can send lists of ebooks to your patrons from the Bento search using that permalink. The other thing that I just love as an option, and again, I'll show you illustratively what we're going to do with this soon. If I want just a permanent link to the eBooks Bento, if I want to be able to say, well, hey, my patrons want to look through and search specifically in the Galileo eBooks, I can capture the second permalink here, the one labeled permanent link to eBooks Bento. And if I capture that, it's just that. It just takes me to that eBooks Bento, and I can search from there. Love that we can do this now. The change we're gonna make to make this better is a link is not very pretty to look at. We want to make it so that these searches are embedded searches, like our Galileo embedded search box. If you haven't seen and used our Galileo embedded search box, I'm going to show you what that looks like just very briefly. If you'd like to embed the Galileo embedded search box, it's under your tools. You have the link embedding a Galileo search box. You click on that. It looks like this. And this is just the raw Galileo search in both forms. You can choose Bento or you can choose Classic from that code, and we provide the code for you. What we're going to do is make it so that you can capture a Bento search that is embeddable, that looks pretty. So you could just embed an ebook search right there on your page if you wanted to. So that's our goal. Is something we want to do, and we just think it's going to be so valuable to be able to send the ability to search through a specific subset of content using the Bento search links that we can provide. And you can do that you can already do that for any of the links. We just don't have the fancy embed piece of it, but you can do that. Like if I wanted to send these two encyclopedias, again, I can send the two encyclopedia entries to my patron just by copying the permanent link for the exact search, or I can send them the Encyclopedia Bento, where they can search through the available encyclopedia articles all on their own. So just we're doing things to make it easier for users to share what they find in the Galileo Bento environment. And I think that can be really valuable going forward with how users find and share ebooks and how librarians approach creating search options and share options on your library websites. So that's what that looks like. Again, you'll get these slides so that you can see this in detail and get some good, hopefully some good reminders from the slides that I've captured and the screen captures that I've done. But that's what we want to do. And again, the whole idea is this will be the embed code will make this look a little prettier, a little neater, nicer for your users when they're using that embedded link for an ebook search. Coming back now just to see if there are any additional questions or comments. Checking my chat and my Q&A again. Looks like we're good. And what I want to talk now about is the Galileo ebook platforms and features. They're like, you all are like, oh, he's done with search. Good. We can actually get into the meat of the ebooks that are available to us. So happy to be doing that. So we have two large providers of ebooks, as I've mentioned before, and I'm going to detail these for you. What's again wonderful and a difference between the EBSCO ebooks and the ProQuest eBook Central ebooks is that EBSCO does divide these out into distinctive collections that we've put independent links to on the Galileo website. So for EBSCO, their ebook collections include a public library collection. There's lots of good public library reference materials there. There is some nonfiction. There's a great degree of nonfiction. There's a good amount of fiction titles available through the public library collection. There are a good number of reference titles in the public library collection. So it's a good general public library or collection. Is it going to have your bestsellers and the things that people want to read every day? Not necessarily. You may find a few here or there. Is it going to have materials for research and writing and for pleasure reading that users might utilize? Absolutely. That material is going to be there. There's the high school collection, and it is an academic collection designed to fit the high school curriculum. It's tied to general high school nationwide standards, the content that you'll find there. The same with the K through 8 collection. There'll be both fiction and nonfiction in the high school and the K through 8 collection, but the emphasis is on nonfiction. We'll take a look at all of these as we go through. There's the community college collection, again, designed to help the community college students. It can also be great help to AP high school students and those doing general research on a variety of topics. There's also a bit of material in the community college collection that would be on your welding arts and other things that community college address in terms of those types of career-focused education. There's an academic collection, again, designed for providing ebooks, titles that are helpful to college students. And there is a nonfiction collection as well. Again, we'll look at a lot of these just to kind of poke around in a bit. So there is the ebook. This is the ebook K through 8 collection. And I wanted to point that out specifically because I know providing books for kids can certainly be a challenge. One of the challenges about the K through 8 collection that we've heard a lot about, and I absolutely agree with, is that K through 8 is a wide range. And we have really hammered EBSCO on the range of this collection for a long time. And we got word not too long ago that in mid-year 2024 is the proposed timeline that EBSCO will be breaking the K through 8 collection into a K through 5 collection and a 6 through 8 collection. So it'll be a little bit easier to manage. Also, currently, a lot of our Galileo databases do provide the means to search by Lexile level. A lot of the K-12 oriented databases do. For those of you in the public library sector, there is the Explora database that has Lexile limits, and Galileo, we apply Lexile limits where we can, where the metadata is available. EBSCO has also announced that this K through 8 collection should be adding Lexile limiters by April of 2024. So our hope is they stick to those timelines. We know vendors don't always stick to timelines, but our hope is that will happen and it'll make it a lot easier for those of you who encounter parents and students looking for items at a certain Lexile level to find those. Sometimes, and we'll go in specifically to the K8 collection and do some looking around. Sometimes the material, even if it isn't in the metadata, will be on the front matter of the book when you're actually looking at the book and reading through it, but certainly not always. Also wanted to point out this is pretty typical of the formatting for an EBSCO ebook collection. We have done a little bit more with the kids collection to add a browsing element so that we can highlight new titles and other things. And I'm going to go digging in after I kind of get through the introduction of our two major platforms, and we'll spend some time actually looking specifically at ebooks, and I'll do some searching around based on some of the topics that I did for you all in the description of this session. So ProQuest eBook Central is our other major ebook provider. Unfortunately, the collections can't be linked to separately, but there are three separate collections, including a public library complete collection that has a lot of good reference and nonfiction titles that are helpful to um, public libraries and public library patrons. And again, I give so much credit to Jennifer Luthenhauser for some inspiration for this. I've always tried to promote eBook Central, and she came to me and said one day I was doing the staff development day down there at Middle Georgia, and she said, "I love eBook Central. I'm a sewer. I'm a baker. I cook. I oftentimes find excellent content in eBook Central that helps me to learn things about these things I like to do, about these hobbies that I have." And it was just so cool to hear that from her as a librarian who does these things. And certainly I've explored those collections, and there is a lot of content on there about those topics. So we will dig into to ProQuest eBook Central as well and do some looking at the books themselves. Again, doing screen captures, I always like to do that in case we don't get to it. This is what an eBook Central ebook typically looks like. Almost all of these provide you with the ability to search within the book, which I love. This is a book about the desegregation of the University of Georgia that's available as an ebook in eBook Central. So there are reference titles. They're great titles on history. For those doing research in history or family history, even, there's a lot of really good titles that can be helpful in that realm. So it's a very powerful amount of good information in both of these ebook collections. And again, promising to go digging around with you. So before we dig into this access by age group and view, what I want to do, I've spoken to that a little bit, is just to kind of go in and look at some of the ebook collections with you and tour you around and point to how the books work and how you can share individual ebook titles and just other pieces of the broader ebook puzzle. So I'm actually going to approach this by going into some of the ebook databases. And I'm going to go to my all databases list. And I know I want to go to the EBSCO eBooks K through 8 collection. So I'm going to search here K through 8. I always like to leverage the power. There it is, ebook K through 8 collection. And I click on that. I'm going to go ahead and go in and give you a quick tour around. For those of you who work with kids, I think this is a great collection. These highlights, they update routinely. As you saw, the screen capture I had different highlights. So we have things like creating materials, cardboard. So we have some hobbies and crafts. We have some a peek at beaks. We have a book about birds, a little book about genetics, ecosystems. I know that elementary students spend a lot of time looking at things like ecosystems and individual animals. So there's certainly some helpful things there. And you can browse by category within the ebook collection. You can look at children's and young adult here, and then you can go into the different topics. But certainly I can search within the ebooks. So I'll go ahead and do a search. I had a search about softball um, pitching in my description. So I did a search for softball pitching, and I got things like stem and baseball, a peanut collection. So that's some nonfiction there. Something to Prove, The Great Satchel Paige versus Rookie Joe DiMaggio. So I'm just going to take this one and go into STEM and baseball and give you a tour of the ebook item itself. So the ebooks will come in one of two or sometimes both formats, the PDF full text. You can do them as a full download. Again, that could be a little tricky. You have to have an EBSCO account and you have to have Adobe Digital Editions in order to do that. I have included at the very end of my slides some documentation on how to do this. And if you run into any issues with using the EBSCO ebooks offline as downloads, you can send us a support ticket at Galileo and we'll help out with that. But I don't want to, again, we can get off track trying to do that in the course of a session. And I want to make sure I cover all my content here. But if I want to just read the book online, if I go into the PDF full text content, I can. Before I do that, I just want to show you quickly that there is a lot of metadata here. There isn't in this particular case. Sometimes you will. Actually, it is there. The Lexile level is there. It's 970L for this particular title. So I do have it. I can do a variety of things also with this ebook. I won't add the whole book, but I can add the citation for the book to my Google Drive or my OneDrive. If I have a MyEBSCOhost account, I can add this book to a folder. Obviously, printing isn't printing the whole book, but you can print selected pages. You can email the information about the title to yourself along with a permalink. There's a citation option. So if their students are using this for a paper at school, they can get a citation in a variety of different formats, including APA, MLA, Chicago. If you do have a MyEBSCOhost account, you can actually put notes in your instance of the ebook, which is great. And you can also, I think most important is there is a permalink to the ebook that I can capture. So if I was making a list of ebooks that I wanted patrons to be able to use, I can simply come here and capture this permalink, copy and paste it into my list, perhaps with some other information in the cover image, whatever I wanted to do. I could do that with the EBSCO ebooks. And all of these have a few little differences in how they share them, but definitely go to the permalink when you're sharing and grab that here in the ebook environment. Let's go ahead and look at the ebook just to show you some of the features that are there in the EBSCO ebook collection, K through 8 collection now. Make this a little bit larger for you. I know sometimes these things aren't easiest to see. Again, you can save some pages. It depends on the publisher and the title, what pages you can save. You can email pages, you can print pages, you can cite some of the same options that we saw before, and there's that permalink and full download option. I love it that I can search within the book. If I was looking for, maybe there's information in here about how to throw a screwball. Didn't find anything. It might separate. It might have to search it a couple different ways. I'll search curve. Maybe I'll find information about stem and the curve ball. Yeah, the Marcus effect caused a pitched baseball to curve. So I can learn all about that within the individual page. If I click on that page, it'll take me directly to the page. So I'll just do that so you can see. And there we go. So I can actually look at that page. If I want to go back, I just go back to the beginning here. So lots of options here. There we go. Back. Come on back. And so that's the search within page, search within the book is, I think, very valuable and helpful, especially with reference titles. But it's there. You can also browse chapter to chapter. You can have download options chapter to chapter, and pretty straightforward and easy to use. You can also expand what this looks like. You can go page by page using the guide at the bottom. You can make this a little bit bigger if you'd like. I made it too big, I think, it is outside my realm. You can share it to your whole page. I hope you all are still seeing that in the context of the full screen view. I'll go ahead and escape, so just in case you're not. But again, all those options, if you click on the hamburger menu there, you can go ahead and get that option also to add it to Google Drive. But tons of good options there in terms of what you can do with the ebook besides just read it once you get it on the page. So that is what you see there in the EBSCO eBook Collections platform. Just to look at a couple of other collections. So we've done a good and thorough tour around. I'll go to the public library collection so you see it. I'm going to approach this a little bit differently. I'm going to use the bento search to find the ebook public library collection this time and show you around that collection. So there's the ebook public library collection. You can go ahead and click on that. And as you'll see, it's a very similar format to what you saw before. I can browse and look at highlights. So I have things like Teen Innovators, Native Air, Lifesavers, Spinning Monsters in the Fog. So there is some nonfiction here. I can browse again by category, children's and young adult fictions, children, young adult nonfiction, and then on down the page there. I'll go ahead and search here. I might find, again, a completely different list of titles in public library. So if I was looking perhaps for, let's see, trying to think of topics that I've searched for or that are, let's do baking. So I'm going to go ahead and search to see. I have lazy baking, really easy, sweet and savory bakes. Creative baking, it's macaron basics. Again, I make some macarons. There we go. So as you can see, that topic is addressed. Sports, again, sports rules often come up in these. I'll just search for soccer, just as, again, another topic of interest to kids and adults alike. An introduction to being a good sport is a title available here in the public library collection. So think of a topic that public library patrons will be interested in. Generally, you can search for and find that content here in the ebook public library collection. So that is, again, the public library collection. And just so that we're seeing all the different, a couple of different collections, but then also I want to make sure that you see eBook Central and what that looks like. Again, as I mentioned, unfortunately, don't have the ability to break that out into its constituent parts, but I can go ahead and go into eBook Central and give you a quick look around it. So when I arrive at eBook Central, I get a search. I can do my advanced search, or I can browse by subject. Let's go ahead and browse by subject just to see what kinds of interesting things we have. We have architecture, fine arts, literature, fiction, journalism. So you can see the researcher, the AP student is going to be helped greatly like this. We have things like home economics, library science, health and medicine. There's consumer health titles here that can prove helpful. There's a lot of academic content in here too, but there's also a lot of really good and useful reference content. So I'll go ahead and just so that we can see some of the titles that are available. Let's go into home economics just for fun here. We talked a little bit about sewing and cooking and baking and other types of titles that our public library patrons sometimes. This happened to me the last time I was in this session, and you'll forgive me. This does not happen ordinarily. So forgive me. I determined that this is probably tied to me needing to clear. I know you love hearing Galileo staff tell you to clear your cache and cookies, but for some reason it's doing this. So forgive me. I'm going to make it smaller. There it is. When I make my browser a little smaller, it goes away. So we get titles like Japanese Food Made Easy, Pot Roast Politics, and Arts, Ants in the Pantry. So a cookbook heritage. The books, it's gotten meta. There's books about cookbooks in here. So just giving you an idea that there's hundreds of titles available on thousands of titles available on a variety of topics. Again, just for fun, I will go into history because I know that history is a very popular topic. So we have a life of Benjamin Harrison. We have the International Jerusalem excavations, the first part of Henry IV. So we have a Shakespeare history play. I don't always see, this is interesting because finding things like Shakespeare, even though they're in public domain, can sometimes be a little tricky. But certainly if a student needed to read it and they couldn't find it at school or didn't have a copy, they can certainly do it. We have travel books, A Guide to Rome, 5 Walking Tours. Let's take a look at that one because I'm betting it's a pretty ebook. So much like what we saw in the EBSCO environment, you have multiple options here in terms of how to access the book. You can, there aren't the multiple format options, but you can read online. Again, you can download the book. Again, requires Adobe Digital Editions, and I will have sent you instructions. As before, there is a permalink to the book that you can share. This is where you capture that. And you can also download chapters and print chapters depending on the, again, any restrictions that the publisher applies. And this is generally done by ProQuest, eBook Central, and EBSCO on a book-by-book basis. I'm going to go ahead and click the Read Online option. There is an Add to Bookshelf. Now that requires a ProQuest account, just like what we saw with eBook Central or with EBSCO. And there's also a cite option. So just like what we saw before, I can do a variety of different citation formats for my book if I want. That is an option there. So I'll go ahead and click on Read Online here for that one. And as we saw before, we got a search within the book option. So I have my 5 walking tours of Rome with the title page, introduction post. So they have all different ways that you can walk through and tour Rome. I can look at cover, I can look at contents, I can look at front matter. If I want to look at the table of contents, I can see that here. Again, as before, we can download portions, again, without or download the whole ebook temporarily with an eBook Central account. You can copy pages, you can print pages, again, publisher by publisher basis. If you have an account, you can add it to your bookshelf, a permalink to the book, the ability to do a citation as we saw. So a lot of the same functionality that I pointed to before. The highlight functionality, again, requires an account. But that is typically what you see with an eBook Central ebook. So go and looked at a few examples in each of the formats. The next thing I want to talk a little bit about is access by age group and view. As you all know, in Galileo, in the public library environment, we have enabled views. And it's important to know that if you are not seeing an ebook collection that you want to see, so if you're, for example, in elementary school, you're going to have a limited number of ebook collections. You're going to have obviously eRead Kids, and then you're going to have EBSCO eBooks K through 8 collection. You're not going to see other ebook collections because generally the content in eBook Central is outside the reading realm of the elementary school student, so we haven't put it there. I don't think we put it in anywhere until high school. So you will get different options in terms of your database list and different views. When you're in the full view in Galileo, you get everything. The same thing applies when you're doing the bento or the classic search. We've set it up so that it only searches in age-appropriate databases, the K through 8 collection in the case of elementary school. When you're using the bento search in the elementary environment, those are the ebook titles that you're going to find are those from the K through 8 collection, pretty much exclusively. All the other ebook collections, the individual collections I've shown, just to be very clear, if you are in the full view, you will notice, and I'll just do a quick search for baking in Middle East, see what we come up with. In terms of ebooks here, we came up with 24,000 titles. So I'll go ahead and click on that. See what the Middle East and Transition Studies and Contemporary History. I'm sure that mentions baking somewhere. But in any case, with the bento search, you'll see that you usually, if it's got both options, it's an EBSCO ebook, but you'll note that in almost all cases, you'll see books from eBook Central come up along with the title. So those any ebook collection that I've talked about as an individual collection, just to be clear, is searchable in the bento search and in the Galileo main search. All of those ebook collections are included within those search. Of course, it's sometimes easier to go to an individual ebook and search them, but just want to point that out. But then again, just note that you in the middle school view, you're going to see that K through 8 collection. That's going to be the only ebook content that we have enabled in the middle school view. High school view, we're going to have more ebooks enabled. The EBSCO eBooks High School collection. I'm pretty sure we've enabled eBook Central here, even though it's not in the spotlight area. But you will see those ebook titles from eBook Central come up in the high school search. Just to let you know, there's some differentiation based on view in terms of what searches, what ebook collections are listed and what's searched, to be clear about that. But when you're in the full view, just to be 100% clear, you're searching everything in the discovery search. All the ebooks that are available to you are searched in that search. So in terms of limiting two different things, it's really hard other than outside using the views right now. As I noted, we do hope for a Lexile level search that will apply to ebooks mid-year, hopefully next year. For right now, as I mentioned, sometime I'm going to go ahead and go to the elementary view. Again, searching in the elementary view helps to narrow things down. I'm going to search for volcanoes. That was a fairly recent project my daughter had. Well, she's a middle schooler now. That's weird. So I have 1,200 ebooks that came up when I did a search for volcanoes, even in the elementary school collections with those limits applied. So there's a lot of ebooks there that can address this need. There, again, I have no ability to, it won't come up in the database limits to limit that by Lexile. But when the Lexile limiter is available for a stream of content, it will be there. So hopefully it will be there not too long. But just looking at an ebook, I have no idea if it will be there. Sometimes you can see in the metadata, sometimes in the front matter. Just pointing this out once more. I'm here in the volcano search, scrolling down the metadata to see if it has Lexile information, and in this case, it does. Again, more and more of the ebooks do, and eventually there will be a search to limit by Lexile level. There is currently, let me go back to all bento results here. I do have magazines. Now the magazines, I should have a Lexile level limiter here. So for full text magazines, that Lexile range can be applied. Now, is it going to catch everything? Is every single item in Galileo, not an ebook, going to have a Lexile range listed in it? Probably not, but it is an effective way to limit by a Lexile range for magazine content right now. So sorry, I know that we'll have ebooks available to limit in that way soon, but we don't yet. But there are ways by moving from the different views to limit the types of ebooks that you're searching through and limit the type of content that you're accessing. So some tools for finding the right ebook, again, searching in the appropriate view. You can use Novelist. That's another alternative to find that Lexile information. You all have access to Novelist K through 8 and Novelist Plus to review titles. Novelist K through 8 does have Lexile information, and it will have that Lexile information on many of the titles that are available in the EBSCO and eBook Central collections. Again, that limiter, I have the asterisk there. It's not necessarily all there yet. You can try keyword searching by a Lexile range or Lexile level, or you can search elementary and volcanoes to see if you can limit your content a little bit further and find books that are elementary school appropriate about volcanoes. And again, as I mentioned, using that front and back matter can get you some information and making sure that you check that metadata because it's not searchable, but sometimes that information, again, is there on the ebook itself. So viewing and reading Galileo ebooks, we did a little bit of this already, but again, just to reiterate, all titles can be viewed online. Ebook Central and EBSCO ebooks utilize those mobile first design principles, so you're going to be in the database most of the time looking at it. You can look at them on a mobile device, you can look at them anywhere, and you can download them. As I mentioned, there can be tricks to that. And again, I've included documentation at the end of the presentation for your review in case you have patrons who would like to download EBSCO or eBook Central ebooks. You'll have instructions on how to do that. But again, can be tricky, I will be the first to admit. Again, both present some challenges with offline downloading, and again, that's that documentation I mentioned, making sure that was available for you. And that is everything I've had to share. And I know it was a lot in a short range of time. We have about 9 minutes left for questions and answers. I see I'm beeping, so I don't know if there's Q&A or not yet, but I'm going to come in and look at the chat and the Q&A to see if there's anything there that I need to respond to. But I also want to give you all plenty of time here as we wrap up. Of course, you can get some of your day back here with 8 minutes left. Here's can the permalinks be used to create QR codes? Absolutely. The only limitations on that would be making sure that you're sharing it with your patrons because the permalinks contain information about authentication that is specific to your library. That's one limitation that it's been really hard to get past. Each library has its own each library system has its own Galileo account by design. So that's the only trick that you might run into, Alex, is you want to share it, if you're sharing it on your Facebook page for your patrons or what have you, or sharing it in the library, absolutely, you can use a QR code for that. If they're in the building, it should just automatically get and using and they're on your network, on one of your IP addresses, it should just automatically authenticate them when they go to the QR code. If they are off your library network and run that QR code, it'll prompt them to log in with the Galileo password, just like it would ordinarily. Sorry, I wanted to think through that a little bit myself, Alex, but to your point, yes, we've used permalinks and QR codes that we've created for a couple of purposes here at Galileo. Great question. And again, welcome any questions in the Q&A or the chat. Give it a minute or two. So if you all are typing heartily away at something, you can finish your thought and send that over. I also stress my availability after the fact as well. Do I have my info? If I don't, I should. You should have my email address. I'm going to send you the recording. This is the end of my slides. I'll pop my email address into the chat here so that you have it. Sorry, bad Russell. But yes, I will make sure that you all have that. Let me clear the browser and stop sharing. So, but if you think of questions after the fact, or if you're thinking about how to articulate a question and you want to ask me something offline, don't hesitate to drop me a line via email. I'm more than happy to help. And if you have any issues with ebooks, we have our support channel. We have our support forum. You're welcome to submit support questions, or you can send me questions and I'll send them on through the support channel if necessary. But yeah, can you add the links you shared on the previous slide? Let's see. Yeah, I can put those in the chat real quick. That's no problem. Let me do that. Hopefully I didn't close my browser window. I might have. But I'm typing away at doing that. It'll take me just a second. But yeah, I can do that. And again, I'll get you the presentation for sure. You'll have the presentation slides I'll be sure to send those out to everybody as well. But yeah, I'm popping those in right now. It's no problem to grab those, popping in the chat. Should have it in just a second. If you're very welcome. There they go. Oh, it even looks pretty because I got them right out of the chat. So there we go. Yep. Great questions, y'all. Always happy to share the things that we have here. Well, you all are most welcome. You all, I thank you all for your attention, your attendance. As I mentioned, you'll get a recording of this as well as a link to the slide presentation. And we're here and available for you anytime you have questions about our collections, our content, or Galileo broadly. We're more than happy to help. Thank you all so much. Hopefully, we'll see you in some new sessions soon. Again, I mentioned we're going to be adding some things to Galileo starting very soon. We have a few very positive changes to the bento search and other things coming in December. We'll be sharing more information and actually some training sessions around that very soon. Thank you all. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And hopefully you all are looking forward to a wonderful time with family during our holidays next week with Thanksgiving. And we'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.